She's so fine. Hell of a hell of a blows my mind. Hell of a hell of a lights my day.
What's good, guys? It is roughly 9:30 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, March the 14th, 2023. As you can tell, this video will be regarding the Shanquella Robinson case. And I want to send a special thank you to Lori T for sending this story to me. Now, this is actual new information, update regarding the Shanquella Robinson case. This is coming via the Charlotte Observer. It came out this afternoon in an article wrote by Callie Cox. The article itself is titled, Hotel Staff Pointed Police to Suspect in Shanquella Robinson Case, New Records Show. Bear with me because I'm starting to lose my voice just a tad. I've been doing a lot of talking today. Now, very, very interesting information has come out now. It goes on to say, newly obtained information reveals that the Cabo Six, who were traveling with Shanquella Robinson, quote, fled, end quote, Mexico after her death, and she was seen at dinner the night before acting, quote, strange, end quote. Now, I'm not going to give you a whole background, but just to say that Shanquella Robinson, 25-year-old businesswoman from Charlotte, North Carolina, died on October the 29th in Cabo under atrocious circumstances while on vacation. They have obtained an autopsy report from the Directorate of Forensic Services, which classifies Shanquella Robinson's death as violent. Now, these documents reveal the medical examiner's findings, interviews with hotel staff, and specifically the concierge, and law enforcement reports, and the Charlotte Observer and other media outlets received those today, along with a letter that was sent to President Joe Biden calling for an arrest of Daejhanae Jackson. Now, the documents also include interview transcripts between investigators and both the manager and the concierge at the vacation villa. The family's attorneys, Sue Ann Robinson and Ben Crump, say that the arrest warrant issued for Daejhanae Jackson mentions femicide. In the 18-page information packet sent yesterday to top U.S. government officials, Ben Crump and Sue Ann Robinson wrote, as a result of the investigation, a warrant was issued for Daejhanae Jackson by Mexican law enforcement, one of the 6 travel mates who fled to the U.S. after Shanquella Robinson was pronounced dead. Miss Jackson was identified as the perpetrator of femicide against Shanquella Robinson, a homicide based on gender, end quote. Now, this is what they found in this packet. The concierge recalls specifically meeting Shanquella Robinson. He was working at Cabo Villas, and he told the investigator with the specialized unit for the investigation of miscellaneous crimes that Daejhanae Jackson was the main guest handling the trip arrangements. That's a detail we did not know. Now, this interview took place on November the 17th at 8:45 in the morning. The concierge said that the first night when the group arrived, he noticed something was just off. He said Shanquella Robinson was the last person to join the group and that she seemed not to fit in with the others. He said he greeted her, but she did not smile or say anything to him. Quote, she was indifferent, nothing to do with the atmosphere of celebration. She was out of place at the party, end quote. He told the investigator. Now, this is in an English translation of the prosecutor's documents. So let's stop right here. That makes me incredibly sad, just FYI, because you can tell from this statement alone that Shanquella Robinson was feeling like the odd man out already. That means that these evil people were already mistreating her. Okay? Period. On period. The next thing that was brought up, Daejhanae Jackson text for the doctor. Text. Not called. Text. The next day, on October the 29th, around 1:50 p.m., the concierge recalled to the investigators that Daejhanae Jackson texted him and asked if he was available and where the nearest medical service was. Quote, I think my friend has alcohol poisoning and needs emergency service and someone to translate or speak Spanish for us. End quote. That's in Daejhanae Jackson's words. The concierge offered to send them a doctor who spoke English and who could determine if Shanquella Robinson needed to go to the hospital. Daejhanae Jackson agreed and asked that the doctor be sent, quote, as soon as possible, end quote. Around 2 p.m., which was 10 minutes later roughly, he said he called the doctor on call for the villa itself. Now, we're not going to get into what all the doctor did, because I have discussed that at great length. But what is important to note here is that she texted. She didn't even pick up the phone and make the phone call. But yet her friend, I use that word very lightly, needed emergency service. Come on, man. The next thing they brought up was Shanquella Robinson's death itself. Previous police reports that we've all seen state that Winter Donovan called 911 and asked for an ambulance around 4:20ish p.m. Now, according to the police report excerpt, Shanquella Robinson died sometime between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m., hours after Daejhanae Jackson first texted the concierge for help. Later, the concierge told the investigators that Daejhanae Jackson had texted him that Shanquella Robinson would be taken to a hospital, saying that she was not in serious condition, but required an IV and was, quote, practically unconscious, end quote. The group, the concierge says he was told, was discussing whether or not they had insurance that would pay for the hospital visit. Later, an administrator of the villa contacted the concierge to ask if he had requested the ambulance because security was notified to let one in. It's not clear from the interview transcript how much time had passed. After this, he received another call saying Shanquella Robinson had died and he needed to get to the villa ASAP. It's not clear from the information in the police report or the transcript exactly what time an ambulance arrived from the 911 call. Now, let's back this up. It's so frustrating to me hearing this stuff. So Daejhanae Jackson again texts the concierge to tell him that Shanquella was going to be taken to the hospital. She was not in serious condition, in Daejhanae Jackson's opinion, but required an IV, and she was just practically unconscious. Come on, man. And the group was discussing whether or not they had insurance that would pay for the hospital visit. What would their insurance have anything to do with Shanquella Robinson being seen in a hospital? That makes zero sense to me. This whole ambulance arriving at the gate and being told to be let in, it not being clear how much time had passed, that's a little sketchy to me. Hopefully we can get some kind of clarification on that as well. The next section they address is Cabo, Mexico police's investigation. The concierge said that when he arrived, he noticed one of the guests, one of these 6 snakes, was speaking with the police. And after he entered the villa, he said the guests these 6 weasels were sitting calmly around the bar and dinner table in the main room. He sought out Daejhanae Jackson to offer his condolences. After all, he'd been texting with her. Daejhanae Jackson told him that they had told Shanquella's mother about her death, and that it was, quote, so fast, end quote, to, quote, lose her in an instant for having had too much alcohol, end quote. The lies. Then, being a human with emotion and empathy, he asked Daejhanae Jackson if he could give her a hug. He said she gave him a very indifferent hug, very cold. I saw a very sad guest, a skinny girl, and I saw that she was in pain, the concierge told the investigator. I left that area and stayed outside the main entrance to give them space to mourn and grieve. Very appropriate. Here's the kicker right here. Minutes later, quote, I heard laughter, end quote, the concierge recalled in the interview. To tell you that infuriated me is an understatement, okay? Hours later, Daejhanae Jackson texted this same concierge about dinner. This bitch is hungry. After all that had happened, she had worked herself up an appetite and was bold enough to text the concierge about going to get something to eat. He then arranged a ride for the entire group to go to San Jose. They ditched on him, and he found out later that they had went to the airport instead. The next day, a maid who was sent there to clean the room told the concierge that the villa was empty, and she asked him if the guests had checked out. The concierge said, no, they haven't. So he texted, guess who? Daejhanae Jackson. She didn't decide to respond until October the 31st, the next day. And she told him that they had already left for the U.S., and she asked him if she needed to sign anything for checkout. Later, when Shanquella Robinson's death broke and the video came out showing Daejhanae Jackson brutalizing her, the concierge said he, quote, realized that practically Daejhanae Jackson had manipulated him in an effort to leave the country as soon as possible. So there's that. I'm so furious behind the laughter that I can't even get into much more of that in this video. Now the next section talks about the hotel staff and Daejhanae Jackson in the video. Now the administrator of the villas themselves told investigators in a separate interview that he was the translator for the group when the police came after Shanquella Robinson's death. Now, this interview took place on November the 19th at 2 p.m. He said he had seen the viral video on social media of Shanquella Robinson being beaten by another woman. He confirmed that this took place in the villa and said the other woman in the video was in fact Daejhanae Jackson, who he had met personally. The concierge also confirmed in his interview that he believed the video he had seen showed Daejhanae Jackson hitting Shanquella Robinson. Due to the location of the sun rays in the video, the administrator said it was between 7 and 8:30 a.m. in the room, which they called Room 3, which was registered to Winter Donovan, according to the concierge's interview. Now that's interesting, huh? So let's back this up just a little bit. So now we've got the administrator as well as the concierge both saying They had met Daejhanae Jackson on this trip. They saw the viral video and both confirmed that yes, that is Daejhanae Jackson, and yes, that is Shanquella Robinson. Still no arrest, though. We'll get into the room being Winter Donovan's in another video. There's so much to pack into one video. I just wanted to get this information out there. Autopsy classifies death as violent. I mean, that's kind of a give me. Among the documents, there was an English copy of the medical examiner's report by Dr. Renee Adalberto Galvan Asagueron. Did the best I could with that. It classified Shanquella Robinson's death as violent and lists her cause of death as a broken neck. No mention of alcohol in the medical examiner's report. That was all BS. We know what the death certificate says. It says severe spinal cord injury and atlas luxation. And the police report taken from the villa says she died of cardiac arrest. Here's an interesting thing to note. The medical examiner's report states there were friction burns along Robinson's left ankle, contusions on her head, and other injuries consistent with resuscitation efforts such as a CPR and defibrillator. I wonder how Shanquella Robinson would have gotten friction burns along her left ankle. Could it be that they drug her around the villa, trying to move her from room to room? I'd guess so. I really didn't want to do this video because I'm so irritated. But like I said, I wanted to get this information out there as quickly as I possibly could. And we will break this all down, piece by piece. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. Hit the bell for notifications. Please leave your opinions respectfully in the comment section. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.